Welcome back. Well, last week I did a video in which I discussed how it is that we can buy online, just go online, and even including the cost of shipping, still sell for a profit. And today we're going to do an unboxing because I love unboxing and goodies have come. And we're going to take a look at some items that I purchased. One set of dishes came from eBay, the other came from Etsy. And we're just going to take a look at this and talk about how you can buy online cheap and sell for a profit. So when we come back, we're going to start the unboxing. Okay, so here is my box, and as you can see from the tape, this was the eBay purchase. Now, I had to open this all and unpack in advance. The reason for that was this seller was tape crazy, and I never like the idea of carving into packages with a sharp knife like this. That's something I want to do when I can spread out and I can take it very, very carefully. And sometimes it will take me 5 minutes just to open a single piece. And we've talked about this before. You really don't want to go crazy on the tape, because if your buyer has to carve through the package to get at their item, there's a very good chance that they are going to damage their item, that it's going to slip out, they're going to drop it, they're going to break it, whatever. And if somebody has a damaged piece of goods in their hand before the rest of the package has even been opened, they're going to hold you as the seller responsible for that. That's just the way it works. They are not going to say, oh, I was careless in unpacking. They are going to say, if you had packed it properly, I wouldn't have done this. And the fact is, you got to give them credit for that, at least in some measure, because creating like a lethal trap for your customers, that's not a good way to do business. So these pieces I had to dig out with sharp knives. The bubble wrap ended up in little bitty shreds because, as I say, seller went bonkers with the tape. So here is the creamer. These pieces consisted of 2 bread and butter plates, an orphan creamer, and a cup. Very pretty pattern. Let me show you the plates because that's when you're really going to see this. And of course, as you know, I'm going to photograph these for you. There it is. It's like a little Asian duck pattern. I've got 2 plates. Now, before I put the box aside, let me show you also another mistake the seller made. Newsprint is very heavy packing, and this is, well, it's not newsprint, it's actually just shredded paper. Very heavy packing. The seller listed that box when they put up the shipping as 1 pound 6 ounces. It was in fact 2 pounds 8 ounces. I'm not getting hit for the extra shipping. I do not know if the post office is coming back on them. That very often happens. I'm not even sure why they would have chosen 1 pound 6 ounces. But that's something that quite frankly, I could have packed using air pillows, which are much lighter than the this little shredded paper. It's much lighter. And by using my own boxes, this is a used box, I can see from the label on the inside, if you have control over the box, you can cut several ounces off the weight of your package. I could have done it and packed it within that price range, because when you send out a priority package, 1 pound 1 ounce to 2 pounds is the same cost. So their 1 pound 6 ounce package, I probably would have shipped it out for about 1 pound 14, which, by the way, when I put up the label, I would have listed it at 2 pounds. I would have just gone right up to the max. It doesn't cost me anything more. And if for some reason my scale had gotten twitchy or I had copied down the information wrong, I'm covered. So that's one of the little tricks that I use. But as I say, I'm not getting hit for the excess postage. The seller might be, but it's something always to keep in mind. If you can keep your postage costs down legitimately, oh, by all means do it. But if what's happening is you're doing it because you're declaring the wrong weight, that's when you get caught. And if the post office catches you, they're going to rebill you, or they're going to bill your customer on the other end. And nobody wants that. That is an angry customer because, like I say, nobody likes that. So just keep that in mind. And on that same note, don't do anything foolish like say, oh, well, media mail is less expensive. Nope. If it's not a book, a magazine, or some publication, you're not entitled to use media mail. Don't do it. If it's not Braille or cassettes coming or going from people who are blind or physically disabled, I think that's how they're phrasing it now, you're not entitled to use free matter for the blind. So just stick with what you can do legitimately and let it go. And remember, you're paying for the excess packing materials. And of course, going crazy with the tape doesn't help. So let's take a bit of a look at these plates, because these plates have what I would call a strong pattern. And again, as I say, you are absolutely going to get some pictures on this. Oh, we've got a little chip on the back of this one. And that's okay. That's not going to be a big deal. I can easily fix that. It's a strong pattern. Nice. This, for example, is not a strong pattern. Remember this is the faded version of this plate. And this one is stronger. But this, because it's faded, I would not consider this a strong pattern because it's peach and white. It's all in the same color range, and it's going to blend fairly well with other similar pieces. For example, that's not a bad match. With something like this, not great, not terrible. If the blue were a little more like, this is sort of a lavender. Ooh, wait, we've got a lavender here. See, here we go. That's not bad. The colors are doing well. So obviously I have a few pieces already. And remember, these are the beautiful pieces that came from Colleen. I've left plates all over the table so that we could just do this. Take a little look and see how it is we can combine pieces so that we can create some really interesting combinations for our tidbit trays. This piece is super. I might just set this aside and wait until I come up with a blue and peach saucer like this and do this as a cup and saucer tidbit tray. I still call those tidbit trays, even though frankly I think of them as more like jewelry trays, because obviously they are just as much at home in a kitchen as they are anywhere else. This, our little friend, our little orphan creamer. I never have any trouble selling off orphaned lusterware creamers. I love them. And by the way they sell, I can only assume everyone else does too. One of my frequent buyers from my Etsy shop likes to grab these because she keeps plants around her house. And she'll leave the creamer with a little water in it, and that waters her plants. I never thought of anything like that, but after she suggested it, my little plant corner over there now has a little lusterware creamer living in it. So, very good idea. There are so many things you can do with these. And lusterware creamers, little sugar bowls. Sometimes it just pays to think outside the box, because a sugar bowl can very easily be a little tidbit container, trinket container, I'm sorry, tidbit on the brain. I keep a little covered container next to my front door, and what I keep in that are the little flashers I put on Audie's collar, plus the spare batteries for the little flashers I put on Audie's collar, so that they're always right there. But it's not the sort of thing that I just want to keep a pile of them on the counter. I just as soon kind of hide them away. So things like this are very useful. So let's take a look at this. Now this is a large box. It is full of styrofoam peanuts. I hate styrofoam peanuts. These are biodegradable styrofoam peanuts, but they are styrofoam peanuts nevertheless. Now this one, the seller did not go crazy with the tape, and the tape is pulling up very easily. And so I'm going to take this off so you can see the size. That is the size of the piece of tape this seller used. It is more than enough to guarantee that our package was very well protected. Oh, and notice on the inside, no tape at all. But they also made it incredibly easy for me. I mean, you just saw that. Incredibly easy for me to pull this piece out. And holy guacamole, take a look at this. All right, by the way, our little duck plates, I forgot to mention this. $10.60, that was total cost on 4 plates, $2.65 per piece. And that's the 2 plates, the orphan creamer, and the cup. This, wow. Okay, $29.40. This is the one that came from Etsy for 13 pieces. Now it was listed as 14. Why am I saying 13? Because one is the cover for the sugar bowl. And although when you list it, that's how you list it. But when I think in terms of reselling it, that's not how I'm thinking. I'm thinking of that covered sugar bowl as one piece. When I list it, I'm going to have to call it 2. I get that. So it's just a question of what I'm paying for the pieces. $2.26 per. So I'm going to get a plate because that's gorgeous, and I really want you to see that. This, very often when you buy lusterware, you look at the pictures, and the pictures, it's just, they don't even come close. And this is one of those times. All right, here we go. I'm going to take a picture of this mark too. This is an old made in Japan mark. Here is our piece. This is gorgeous. This is not peach lusterware. This is the traditional blue. This lusterware, the accent color, this is gold. And we have moriage around, well, it's everywhere. We have it around the border. We have it along the little, I guess that's some sort of thistle or comb or seed pod. I'm not sure what it is. The flower, it's just, this is a very three-dimensional piece. This is gorgeous. Wow. Okay, I'm very impressed. when I had seen this on Etsy, it looked pretty. It looked nice. But this is amazing. We've got part of the reason that you're having difficulty making out the design is because this lusterware has it's got a mirror finish on it. And when I hold it like this, I can actually see the stuff over there being reflected in the border. This is fantastic. I have, let's see what I have. So I'm going to start throwing bubble wrap. And Audie is probably going to come along. I just heard his bells. He ignored me for the last video, so we're going to have to see if he'll pay a little more attention now. I'm going to take a look at this. I believe we have 6 plates. And once again, the seller did an excellent job of packing. This plate is a little light. We've got some fading of the lusterware. Oh, it's absolutely not a big deal. It's still beautiful. But can you see that it's a little light? It's a little white around this edge. Let me hold the two up together so maybe you can see it. If here, that's how I'm going to do it. All right. So we've got some light fading on one. I don't see that as a major problem. Very, very pretty. And as I mentioned before, this is a very old mark. So the pieces are undoubtedly very early 20th century. I'm thinking probably they're over 100 years old, so it's nice antique pieces. Yes, we have 6 plates. Take a look at this. I'm not going to continue to just open those plates. I want to give you some sense of what else we've got here. Saucer. Again, very hard to see the design. I'll make sure you get some decent pictures, and that's because of the reflective nature of this gold. Lusterware in general reflects beautifully, but in this case, the gold is just, it's just really incredibly reflective. 3. We have 3 saucers, and let's see what you are. All right, this is our sugar bowl. Very well packed. No, this is our creamer. Very nice on both sides. This is the front side with the more elaborate design. Again, the beautiful moirage work on it. As I said, very three-dimensional. You run your fingers along and you don't have any trouble feeling those flowers. This is another cup. Beautiful. So we have 2 cups, 3 saucers, and the creamer and sugar. Oh, yes. There we go. Very nice. That's our lid. Our sugar bowl is large. Yes, I know. I see you've got that. And the photobomb kitty is here. I was pretty sure he wasn't going to be able to resist all of this bubble wrap. once again, remarkably easy to get these pieces out of the wrapping. And this is very nice. So here is our sugar and creamer. As you can see, very nice size, beautiful. I'm not going to have any trouble unloading those. Those are just going to be sold separately as a sugar and creamer set, because obviously there's not enough pieces to make a full tea set out of this. These pieces are astounding. These are going to make some great tidbit trays. I'm looking around and I'm thinking, in all likelihood, I'm going to pair them off with something like this, plain blue, to make sure the gold is really showing off. And I may actually end up having to set them aside and, once we get back out into the real world, start picking up pieces specifically to go with these. These are beautiful. And they're just, the reason I picked these pieces up was so that I could use them for tidbit trays. These are going to make some great tidbit trays, even if I simply combine this. Oh, very good. I'm impressed. You are a good jumper. Even if I simply combine and make a two-piece tidbit tray like this with the same pattern, I will not have any trouble with that. These are beautiful. So I am extremely pleased with this. This set of china, well, frankly, I would say the first tidbit tray that sells is probably going to take care of the lion's share of the cost of this set. And the rest is just going to be profit. So I want you to keep in mind, it's not that hard. What you have to do is you have to be patient and you have to look through the listings, look through carefully. Try to get large assortments of pieces, something like this, where there are 2 cups and 3 saucers and 6 plates, and if you get lucky, there's a cream and sugar. Or maybe there's an orphan creamer. That's how you get the best deals. Because if these were a set, in other words, if we had 6 cups and 6 saucers along with the sugar and creamer, they would have gone for a great deal more than the $30 I paid. Remember, that's including shipping. They would have gone for a great deal more. Now, I had mentioned when I spoke about the pieces that I had purchased from Etsy, when I promised you this unboxing last week, that I had gotten 3 sets. Well, there was a problem with one. The seller had contacted me and claimed that she broke some of the pieces. And I say claimed, and I say that with a bit of skepticism, because I've been doing this a long, long time. I wrote back and immediately said, well, what about the other pieces? I'm still interested if you want to sell them. No, didn't want to sell the leftover pieces. And that tells me, of course, that they were not broken, because when you have a bunch of mismated china and you've broken half of the pieces, and in this case it was 5 or 6 pieces out of the 12 mismated pieces, if somebody's willing to take the other 5 or 6 pieces off your hands, you better believe you're going to sell them. No. So basically what that means is she reconsidered the sale. And I would say I'm somewhere in the range of 95% sure that's what happened. Been doing this a long time. And the problem I have with Etsy, well, one of the many problems I have with Etsy is when something like this happens, you have no recourse. If something like this happens on eBay, you can go in, you can leave feedback for the seller, and you can say, seller canceled my sale, said pieces were broken, made an offer for remaining pieces, seller declined. And then anybody else looking at it is going to be able to take that information and process it in any way they choose. If I look at that information, I'm going to say, yeah, they changed their mind about the sale, which frankly is not okay. You change your mind about the sale before someone buys, not after they've purchased and given you the money, and then you come up with some little story later on and, no, that's very, very unprofessional. But for a long time, that has been one of my complaints about Etsy, that Etsy actually does not do anything to discourage sellers from behaving unprofessionally. Etsy's attitude seems to be, well, they're mostly craftspeople and they don't know what they're doing, so we're not going to hold them to a high standard. Well, we need to hold ourselves to a high standard because you put your items out there, you have customers who want them, they've bought them, and you have to come through. That's just part of being a professional. So that particular set is off the table, and all things considered, just as well, because I do have to say I would have misgivings about dealing with that seller. So we have one more set coming in, and this set, I believe I told you, was a mix. It was lusterware china in, I believe, 3 separate patterns, which for my purposes, since I want as much variety as possible for these tidbit trays, is super. So that one should be coming in next week, and we will take a look then. Meantime, I'm going to have to clean the mess off my table because I'm going to have to do a project video with some of this stuff. But for now, we're going to come over here and we are going to take a look at word origins and their romantic stories so we can go out on a merry little note. And today, I have decided to get into games. The chapter heading is Your Favorite Sports and Their Word Histories. Backgammon. Back game. Huh. Interesting. That seems obvious now that they say it. The beautifully inlaid 5,000-year-old backgammon board of Queen Shub-Ad was found in her tomb during the excavation of the ancient capital of Babylonia, Ur of the Chaldees. Backgammon and its blood cousin checkers were known throughout the East thousands of years ago. From a date far back before the time of Christ comes a representation of a lion and an antelope at play over a draughts board. As a point of information, the lion is in the act of grabbing the stakes. I guess he's cheating. Roughly speaking, the game of backgammon as we know it is usually dated from the 10th century, since the board was more or less standardized at that time. The word gammon in early English meant game, hence backgammon really means back game because the pieces are often sent back to re-enter the board. Badminton, named for an estate. The Duke of Beaufort had a tidy bit of property 10 miles in circumference in Gloucestershire, England. By the way, I'm from Massachusetts, so I do know how to pronounce these names. This estate of his, called Badminton, was apparently the scene of several innovations in English living in the late 19th century. A claret and soda drink was named Badminton after it, but that has long since been forgotten. Everyone, however, knows of the game of badminton, which was first played in England in 1873. The game itself was imported from India by the British. Blindfold meant a blow. In the children's game of Blind Man's Bluff, one of the players is blindfolded, and this sounds as though a handkerchief were folded around the victim's eyes, but the word blindfold means nothing of the kind. The Middle English word blind felon meant strike blind, and felon meant strike. But blindfeld, the form of the past tense, was originally altered to blindfold. And by the way, the bluff the buff in Blind Man's Buff means blow that was struck during the game. Interesting. All right, one more. Bowling, kings forbade it. This game has a romantic history, although the derivation of the word bowling is simple. It is originally from the Latin bulla, bubble. Bulla finally became bowl, which at first meant either the ball itself or the active cast or delivery of the ball. Modern kegglers may be interested to know that the complete equipment for playing their game was discovered by Sir Flinders Petrie, the British archaeologist, in an Egyptian tomb dating back to 5200 BC, and these same kegglers may be surprised to learn that bowling was forbidden in England by Edward III, Richard II, and other monarchs because it was thought to be too harmless a sport. It was thought to be too harmless a sport, and one that provided no training for war as archery did. Henry VIII also forbade bowling, but he had a fine alley laid out at Whitehall so that he might amuse himself between executions. But in spite of all this, the Dutch brought a variety of this game over and taught it to us on Bowling Green, those acres that lie in New York's financial district. So, those are a few of our sporting and gaming words. All right, have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow. Stay tuned for pictures of these pieces. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a picture of each one of the plates because that's what you need to see the patterns. I'm very pleased. Beautiful designs. This one especially antique. That was a serious bargain. It's not every day you get lusterware of that age and that quality for $30. All right. Great day, everyone. We will see you all later. Oh, and by the way, Teri Smith, we are still looking for you to collect your rose medallion necklace. If we do not hear from you very soon, we're going to choose another winner. And Audie is very quickly going to be coming out and choosing the winner of our beautiful mosaic picture frame with the jewelry embellishments that was made by Karen Hopper. All right, enough business. Let's go enjoy our day. See you all later.